The Assembly is a VR adventure game at its heart. It's a mysterious adventure game with two key characters that you switch between. A woman called Madeline, who's a new recruit to this kind of mysterious underground organisation, and a guy called Cal, who's been there a little while. And it's set in an underground bunker sort of under the American desert, and features some moral choices. You have to make decisions, lots of different endings, and a real roller coaster of a story as you progress through the game chapter by chapter.
I think it's kind of really about experiencing the two different views of the protagonist. So you get to see this shadowy organisation from the two different sides. You get to see Madeline's kind of getting introduced to it and seeing the public face of a secret organisation is a bit of a contradiction, but you know what I mean. And then you get to see Cal being behind the scenes, exploring what goes on, what the real meat of the Assembly actually is.
My name is Patrick O'Lunig. I'm the CEO of nDreams, and we've got a team of about 35, 36 at the moment.
My name's Jackie Tetley, and I'm a senior designer.
The Assembly are trying to do good things. They're trying to make the world a better place, but they don't like the rules and the ethics and morality, and so they do things that are morally grey or maybe even illegal because they believe they're right. And so you're trying to figure out throughout the story, are these guys good or bad? And there's a lot more behind the scenes that you'll find out as you go through the game.
I understand. It's not easy.
That kind of high-tech, Google, futuristic kind of, people working on things behind the scenes, and suddenly they turn up with this amazing new piece of technology or new medication that you're like, wow, where did that come from? So there's kind of that angle to it. And there is a little element of a sort of, cultishness, but only in the sense that, if you're trying to sort of keep yourself secretive and out of the public eye, then there's certain procedures you have to go through, and that's something we explore in the game, trying to work out how would you actually run a secret society under the desert? How would the people get there? How would you recruit them without everyone else knowing about it and things like that?
This place, these people, they've gone too far.
They say they'll protect their work by any means necessary. But my research has to continue. They're my last hope.
Madeline, who's this new recruit to this organisation, so she's undergoing these kind of trials, so she's been given very set up kind of, really interesting, very different trials to test out her abilities. So she's sort of in areas trying to solve, in one instance, a sort of murder mystery type thing. In other things, she's trying to figure out answers to puzzles. Whereas Cal is already a member, so his gameplay is much more kind of investigative. It's looking around, it's searching for stuff, it's hacking into things, it's finding information, taking photos, looking into binoculars and things. So into microscopes is what I meant. So his gameplay is quite different, and because we jump between the two, you get a really nice contrast. Hers are quite high octane, his are a little bit calmer, but more and you get this lovely balance as the story progresses. At the moment, we're just focused on VR, and it's been designed sort of for VR from day one. I wouldn't rule out non-VR if we kind of think that non-VR comes out quite easily and we can still make a really good adventure game without the VR stuff. That's something we might consider, but at the moment the focus is really on VR and Vive and Oculus and PlayStation VR, formerly called Morpheus. I'm still saying it. When we first played around with VR, we decided that adventure games were a genre which was perfect for VR, because when you put a headset on, you just want to look around and explore and touch things and look under tables and look up at spider webs and things like that. You just want to look around. So adventure games are perfect, and that's kind of where the Assembly came from. We wanted to come up with an adventure game with lots of detail. You didn't rush through stuff at top speed. You could actually stop and explore and look around and follow a story, and we kind of we thought an underground bunker was a great setting, and then the Assembly evolved from that.
Everyone knows. That's why everybody watches, isn't it?
Oh yeah, popcorn and everything.
A lot of interesting challenges,
Yeah.
which just need to be experimented and played
Yeah.
with. That's the secret. Some things that you think will work in VR don't, and when you try it, and some things that you think won't work actually work when you
Yeah.
try them. So you have to play around and experiment. It's the only
Yeah.
way to learn. It's a whole new area, which is so exciting.
I think as well, something to touch upon is that because of the sort of slower pace and the exploration, you have to render everything in much greater detail than perhaps in a traditional game where you're running really fast and you're not really paying attention to much that's around you. And also because people can look under things and around things, you can't sneakily cull a few polys around the back of a chair to save a bit of memory. And the frame rate has to be really high to make sure that everything's really smooth when you're turning your head in the headset. And just kind of making it all look as beautiful as possible when you're rendering it sort of twice as well. There's a lot of memory consideration.
Yeah. First grab the two murder weapons. When you know who one of the killers is, you use a dagger on their dummy to,
See that justice is done.
There's just lots of things that, initially you kind of just don't realize, and then you try them and you're like, so things like the HUD, I mean, the UI, you can't just have the UI around the edges of the screen like you do on a normal sort of first-person shooter or something like that, because there is no edge of the screen. It's your eyes, and you can't your peripheral vision doesn't extend out like that, and you can't put things kind of on people's eyeballs, and then you're kind of left with trying to convey information. So conveying information to the player is something that you've worked really hard to do through other methods other than the HUD. People talking to you, things that seem real to you as a player. So just like in real life, someone might ring you up, or someone might leave you a note, or someone might send you an email or something like that, or talk to you. We've tried to convey information as naturalistically as possible.
Hello, Lab 12.
Christ, you took your time. How's my avian sample doing?
Hey, Anton, good timing.
Movement and control are quite a challenge as well. So people like to feel comfortable in VR, and it needs to feel authentic and realistic as well. In real life, you don't run at the speed of Usain Bolt. You tend to jog. Most people don't have a sprint. They might jog, they walk mostly. So you want to move at that sort of speed. You don't want to go faster than a jog. You want to turn at a comfortable rate. You want it to feel like it feels in real life. And that's a big kind of shift in thinking, because a lot of games on traditional consoles turn everything up to 11. You're you grapple hook a plane and then fly into the air and flip 7 times and land on stuff, and it's all amazing. And in real life, if you try to do that, it wouldn't be good, wouldn't be comfortable. So VR's much more realistic, much more authentic than some of the kind of crazy high octane turn up to 11 games.
Many lives.
We did try to make sure in having the chapters that we didn't go for anything too long, because obviously people who are new to VR, they might just want to take a break every now and again, and so it's nice to have a chapter that allows them to just experience a lovely chunk of game, and they can be like, if they want to stop and have go like, I'm going to do something else now, then they can. We're working on about 12 chapters, and they're varying length, and obviously if you're the kind of player who loves adventure games, you're going to want to explore every single cupboard and every single corner and look for every bit of information, and so it could take you forever to play through it all. But if you want to run and just kind of go through the core story, then we allow for that as well. But I don't think we've actually got to the point where you've done a speed run of it or anything like that, so I don't have a set time.
No, we're not sure. It'll be several hours, but we're not quite sure what yet. It's 12 chapters, maybe each one's 20 minutes-ish, something like that, but it really depends on how you play, as Jackie said. We're hiding, there's a lot of detail, a lot of things hidden away, a lot of things to find, so if you really want to get everything, you can spend a lot more time in there. And also we have multiple endings as well, so depending on your choices and what you do in the game, different things happen. And so if you're a completionist, you may want to try and see all the different endings and figure out how to get to them.
It's not just the endings as well, there's also points in the game where you choose different things, and that will make some different things happen, and you might choose to pull this switch or not pull this switch, and something that might have a knock-on effect later on in the game.
I've got to get the truth out there before it's too late.
Lives must be saved, whatever the cost.
You can go to nDreams.com, and there's a whole section on the assembly, and we'll be revealing more as we get move towards launch. The aim is to be there at the launch of the Oculus Rift, and the Vive version should be out at a similar time, and then we'll be there at the launch of PlayStation VR when that is as well. So we're kind of there waiting for the headsets to come out, so we'll be there on day one as soon as they can launch them. Just take a look at nDreams.com and you can get a lot more information from there. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at nDreamsVR, and the hashtag for the game is #TheAssemblyVR.